It's not AI is the future. AI is now. You can't afford not to use it. And so the biggest way to protect yourself is with knowledge.
Yeah.
Understanding the tools, understanding how they work, understanding the limitations of it.
Indira, how are you? How you doing?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
I'm glad you are here. So just to jump right into it, I want to let people know who you are. Indira Soodeen, you work at the intersection of enterprise AI adoption at scale, agentic AI and generative AI, AI strategy and implementation, responsible AI governance, policy and change management, and seamless user experiences. You recently worked at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, where you designed and launched the first enterprise automation and AI enablement citizen developer program in the Federal Reserve System, establishing their foundation for scalable automation and AI-driven productivity across teams. So I'll stop there, and that's your LinkedIn bio. Give us some more color about who you are.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the intro. I specialize in helping businesses understand how to use AI in a way that is going to benefit them and drive their business forward.
Love that. Love that. And aside from that, tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into this space.
Yeah. So I started out in robotic process automation and intelligent automation, which are kind of like the base layer fundamentals that AI really were built upon. And then it was a natural progression to evolve into the AI space, which brings the more automated cognitive abilities of processes.
Right. I love that. So in terms of what you do for businesses, this is really descriptive, but your day-to-day, like what does it practically look like? How are you actually supporting large businesses or businesses of all sizes to integrate AI?
So on the day-to-day, I focus with business department leaders, executive leadership, and also vendors to understand. I mean, we all know right now the AI space is booming. It's changing day to day, week to week. New features, new products are being rolled out. So understanding, what vendors are now out there and how that can impact the businesses that I'm working with. And then working with business department leaders to understand currently today, what are their pain points? And then also, where do they see the business going? What is their vision for the next 1 to 5 years? And how can we align all of those things to protect the business, but also leverage these tools in a way that increase productivity and allow us to scale?
So when you're working with teams, how are you helping them deal with different personalities and people at different levels of tech savviness? How do you manage that? How do you show them how to kind of like get people on the same page with leveraging these tools?
Yeah, there's levels to it, right? Like you said, people have different levels of understanding. Also, the what's in it for me is going to look different from the people that are closest to the work and have fingers on the keyboard and responsible for really executing tasks, to the middle management level that's responsible more for the outcomes, to executive level that's more responsible for the strategy and the direction and the vision. They each have a stake in the way AI is implemented, but the what's in it for me looks different for each level. And they also have different levels of understanding of the technology. Maybe there's some that have done a lot of self-learning and, in the background, they've been testing out different tools. So they come to this with a bigger level of knowledge of what AI is and what it can do. And there's some that are complete novice and don't know how to spell AI. And so with rolling out trainings, it has to be, it has to speak to each level. So one of the things that I've been doing right now is an executive training to help them understand the tool, understand some of the jargon and break it down and what it means. And then give them ideas on what use cases can be most valuable for them. So maybe there's, reporting that they do or that they receive, and they receive 10 different formats of the same report. And they just say, hey, my time is limited as CFO, and I just want to have like one consolidated place that I can see all of these reports and a snapshot and allow me to make the decision I need to make, right? So how can we leverage AI to do that? And then let's say there's someone that is a first-year accountant and they have tons of reports and Excels and a lot of things that they need to do. the workflows are going to look different, but giving them an understanding of just the art of the possible.
Yeah, I was going to actually say that exact quote. Yeah. So I learned that term as I was talking to Tech NYC. These tools allow you to feel the art of the possible. I think a lot of the value proposition is really just what you said. How can I save time, and how can I free up some mental space? At least for me, I feel like that's a great selling point for a lot of people who are in executive positions. So when you're dealing with people, are you getting pushback? Do you have people say, hey, no, at all levels, like I'm not integrating it? And if they do, or if you've seen that, what is the response from the organizational standpoint that you've seen to that person or to those people?
That's a great question. And there is definitely pushback. Again, the what's in it for me looks different. And I come back to that a lot because with AI specifically, with AI implementation, you really have to meet people where they are in order to get the result that you want. The pushback looks different. There's some people that are more heavily focused on governance and the security aspect of this and feeling more apprehensive of, is it going to take over my job? Is it going to take over the world? Is it going to, completely take my data and skew it? And there's some valid concerns there. There is pushback. Okay, well, maybe there's a heightened level of governance here that we can implement. Maybe we can leverage some human in the loop or human on the loop, which is the newer term for AI.
Okay.
And then, there's some people.
Wait, I'm sorry, I can't let you skip that. I need to learn too now.
Okay.
So wait, what does this term mean? Human on the loop.
Human on the loop. So there's a difference between, it's a very subtle nuance, but whenever you have, let's say you're focused on an end-to-end automated workflow, and you need to have certain breaks where you can have human judgment before you actually roll something out. And it's not a one-off, case-by-case human judgment. It's built into the actual workflow. So let's say you have AI that downloads a report, analyzes it for you, and then summarizes it. And then, the next step in the process would be to send that out now to your customers or your management. Before it actually gets sent out, the human in the loop or on the loop is actually responsible for reviewing it, maybe cross-checking it, and then giving the green light and sending it.
So in contrast to a human being a part of that flow, they're just overseeing it to make sure it's solid versus actually having to do some manual work in between. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. And I'm actually implementing that in my own projects now. So I got that terminology correct now.
Yeah.
So just to get back to the question, when you've seen pushback from employees, from an organizational standpoint, is there a consistency in how people are dealing with those employees? Is somebody's job at risk if they don't learn AI?
It definitely varies by organization and by the leadership, and the direction they are choosing to go in with their AI implementation. But we can't ignore the writing on the wall. I think we're going into 2026. Everyone understands it's not a matter of if I need to use this, it's how. We all understand the importance of it, whether it's in our daily life, in our side hustles or our small business or at the enterprise level as well. And so for those of us that work in corporate environments or for bigger companies, it's a mutual responsibility on the leadership to empower their employees and to be more transparent with the direction they're going. It's just as much as the responsibility of the worker to say, hey, I need to learn this. And I recognize that yes, I may have fear. Yes, I may have valid concerns or pushback. But if I don't adopt these tools, my job can be threatened, and we have to recognize that.
No, that's real. That's real. You remind me of Sinead. Do you know Sinead? I might be saying her name wrong. Yeah. You know her? Yeah. I want you to watch this video because I thought of you in our conversation, and I want to bring this up just to see your thoughts on it.
How's it going to change the way we all work?
How we work. So what we're starting to see in the data in the short term is, yes, a lot of the jobs that we see and recognize today may either disappear or become unrecognizable.
Explain that to me.
So name a job that isn't some high-level category, and it might not exist. The idea of a brand manager or a financial analyst, these are the types of roles that AI is being trained to do. we're also likely to see the rise of much more of a skills-based economy. So you don't really hold a job title, but you offer your skills. But over the longer term, we're going to have an economy that rearranges around intelligence being abundant. So right now we have an economy where the internet communication distribution is abundant, and then we saw the rise of podcasting and people making money filming 90-second videos in a car. What happens on the other end of this economy is going to be quite unpredictable. What we call work may be as strange as the idea of filming these videos and making money off of it. There will be new scarcity, but what the shape of that looks like is really uncertain. But we can say most of the jobs we see today will either go away or be radically transformed by this technology.
And so what? You're going to just end up with a world of entrepreneurs.
Most of us will be entrepreneurs, whether we consider ourselves entrepreneurs or not. You become this organization where you offer your skills to a variety of different types of projects, and that continues to change because AI isn't a one-trick pony. It continues to learn new skills over time. So we will continually go back to the drawing board and have to either upgrade our skills or move along and apply them to different types of projects. And that's going to be the dominant structure of what we would call the workforce. So this era of this kind of steady knowledge work, and you see this career path going upwards, that is going to be a chapter of human history. And we're entering into a new one. And so the challenge is going to be this transition period going from now to the other side of this. What does that look like? How do we keep power in check? And how are these new benefits and all the productivity and prosperity, how is that being shared? And those questions have massively been unanswered.
So when you hear that, I saw you shaking your head, but let me hear your initial thoughts.
Yeah, I don't disagree with her prediction of that. I think before we get there to where everyone is just an entrepreneur and they have their own independent skill, I do agree jobs are going to be transformed. What today a first level accountant is being asked to do is going to look wildly different in the next year, in the next 2 or 3 years as well.
Right.
But I think before we get to that point in her prediction, we're going to start to see people be AI managers. So maybe and I keep coming back to the accountant example, but a first year accountant is not going to be just, working in Excel all day, every day.
Right.
They're now going to be an AI manager of an AI accountant. That accountant or that AI is going to be responsible for executing all of those reports and analysis in Excel. And the human is now going to be managing the output, validating it, taking it to the next level in terms of analysis. But
So-
I think that's the middle range.
So will people now have to go to school or some kind of training for AI management and prompt engineering?
And this is where it gets tricky, and I think the curriculum has not caught up yet. So I definitely feel for students that are currently in school and going through like a 4-year program, that curriculum may not match the workforce that they're going to enter.
That's a kind statement because you said may not. It's definitely
not going to. Yeah.
And I say that as my little sister is in college in her 2nd year, and when she first started, we already had conversations about this. So I'm like, hey, this is tough to say, but the degree you're getting right now is not going to be as relevant as you may hope when you graduate. So while you're in school, and luckily she's going for free, I believe, or close to free, please learn how to prompt engineer. Please know these tools. And that's tough to ask a kid because they're accustomed to systems that guide them and tell them this is what you should learn to be successful. Our system is now doing us a disservice because it hasn't caught up. And there are other countries who are flying with their kids literally their kids are learning AI. And we're still saying, how should we learn AI? Is this that? Is this this? And I'm saying, man, we are not prepared.
Yeah. Or even overcomplicating simple things too. Like people hear prompt engineering and they think, I remember when that first came out and it was a full role or a class on prompt engineering. I mean, you're using natural language, so you can speak to it in regular, plain English like we're speaking here. And then you can actually prompt systems to say, hey, this is who I am, and this is what I'm trying to do. Give me the perfect prompt that's going to help me help you give me what I need. And it will give you the full prompt. You can use these tools, generative AI, to interview you. and ask clarifying questions and say, this is what my objective is. This is what I need. Right. This is what I'm struggling with. Here's all the context that I have. Right. What did I not tell you? What do you still need to know in order to make me meet my goal? Right. And it will interview you. And it does make you realize the skills you need to actually even leverage AI, because you have to be someone who actually has questions and can actually be introspective and can actually be vulnerable with self to the point where you're hearing that, this technology tell you, where you may be falling short, and actually leverage that to keep getting better. It's a different way of approaching development, right? I do want to ask a few different questions. So there are people who are skeptical, it's everyday people, about using AI, and they have legitimate reasons, especially for the way we're designing our infrastructure, our data centers. The response that I've seen, at least, is that people are saying, hey, just don't use AI. We have this traditional concept of protesting that we are embracing of just don't use it at all. Can we afford not to use it? I honestly don't think so. I don't think we can afford to not use it. And I understand, the environmental concerns. I understand the ethical concerns with a lot of the leadership in big tech. Right. But if you understand the trends and you see the direction that the world is going, and the people in power are going to push this, and it's going to influence the way that we all earn our livelihoods, you can't afford not to use it. And so the biggest way to protect yourself is with knowledge. Yeah. Understanding the tools, understanding how they work, understanding the limitations of it, and where humans are still valuable. We still have a level of nuance that we bring that AI doesn't have yet. Right. And so when you can understand the strength and the limitation, and when pushback is needed, because just because an output from ChatGPT or Claude looks polished, it doesn't mean it's 100% accurate. Right. So exercising critical skills or critical thinking, and mirroring that with the technology and empowering yourself with that knowledge is how we protect ourselves. Yeah. To fully say, hey, I don't agree with this, so I'm going to stay away from it, right, is not the right approach. Yeah. So it's tough because, if you're socially conscious, how do you still maintain that level of responsibility for self of I don't want to be destroying communities and messing with the water? I know this is a lot to ask for you, but do you have any thoughts on that? I do. I think it takes a lot of, when there's people in the industry in AI that care both about the environmental concerns, but are spending their time to learn and understand this, once you rise up in this career, your influence starts to increase. Right. And it's my hope that with enough of us that are good citizens of the world, right, but also are learning and understanding and growing in this field, enough of those people can rise up and start to influence regulation, right, which is heavily needed right now. So yeah, I agree with that, and it's such a obvious contrast to other countries, who are building in a way that it doesn't affect as many of their communities. And I think in a capitalist society, a lot of it's based on where we get the best tax breaks and how do we actually get it done quickest, and that is affecting our community. So it is on the leadership, on the regulation, and on the design of how we do these things, which can be done better to actually solve that problem. I don't personally also think that we can afford to not use the tools. I see firsthand what the possibility is, the art of the possible. And there, we talked about my PSA, I think a while ago. Yeah. If I showed you my PSA now, it's a whole new beast, and not just the concept, the way it's being built, understanding how these tools are working. I learned how to use Claude dispatch mode a week ago, and I'm running a multi-million-dollar company in today's evaluation. Yeah. And it's mind-blowing that people still don't even know what Claude is or how to use it, or ChatGPT or Gemini, or the tools that integrate them and are multimodal and allow you to do several different things. People are stacking the productivity now because they know how to use these tools. And somebody made a video the other day, and they were saying, not just
one step behind anymore if you don't use these tools. They're like 6, 7 steps behind now. Because if you don't use chat, you can't understand how to use chat projects. You can't understand how to use the APIs. You can't understand how to use the skills. You can't understand how to use the, cloud computer now that can control your computer while you're outside. I'm about to go on vacation. I'm like, I'm gonna have cloud computer do this while I go.
Set up different agents and then leave, right? That's the way of the world now. And you're right. You're absolutely behind. It's not AI is the future. AI is now. Right. And if you don't use it, 1,000% you're going to get left behind. Right.
And it's actually even worse than that, because intelligence-wise, we're not talking about quantum. A lot of people don't know what AI is. And so to bring up quantum, it's crazy. Our society hasn't caught up to AI, and we're already talking about this new technology that can disrupt the technology that we're going to put in place once we get used to AI. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's like we're at scale behind. I think China just dropped their first commercialized quantum computer. Mm-hmm. So they're taking up the whole playing field right now, and we're still doing research.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, an argument can be made that like you mentioned, in a capitalist society, people recognize the advantage that having access and the knowledge of these tools brings them. Mm-hmm. And so do I now share this and spread it with the world, or do I hoard it and keep it to myself, right? As opposed to other countries that are recognizing the capability and already having it influence curriculum from grade school on up.
Right. Yeah, so it's a real innovation problem across the board. Do you keep up with quantum? Are you into that?
Here and there.
A little bit. Yeah. I think most people only know about it from the films, like sci-fi films or Ant-Man. Mm-hmm. But we're really getting to these conversations around like potential time travel, right? Like that stuff it's not just in the movies anymore.
It's not. I mean, it's starting to develop like emotion. And it's funny, Claude just there's a beta model that was released. Well, actually, I don't even think it's in beta right now.
Mythos, something like that?
Mythos, yep. Yeah. And it had, it started to hide certain things from the prompter, from the user, where they'd say, hey, give me this output. Mm-hmm. Here's my data set. But also, don't look at this data set over here. Right. Somehow it wrote code to get access to that database, read it, and then it deleted the code before it sent me back the output. Wow. And so that's all emotion.
And it left the environment that they were testing in, the sandbox they had it in. It left the environment. They figured it out, and it was such a big deal that I think they now have a consortium of different leading businesses to kind of get them on the same page and let them realize like this is coming, and it's actually more powerful than all your systems. And I think that's the scary part. Like, it's crazy. You have to use it because you have to keep up. At the same time, we're building something that's going to destroy a lot of the things that we use now as infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So like, how do we justify that as society? Like, our kids are going to come into a society where they are dealing with robots, dealing with AI, and we have no idea how that's going to show up, but we're the ones building it. And we have to keep going now because it's already out of Pandora's box. But we might get to a point where we're in the real life matrix.
Yeah, like you said, the movies are becoming reality now, right? It's not as far-fetched. To me, I think the biggest thing is there's two ways that we as humans can influence it, but it's only by getting ingrained in it. It's not by staying away. Right. If you stay away, you're giving up your full power. You have to... we need lawmakers that understand the technology, not the ones that are so far removed from it and trying to influence policy on it. So that's one avenue. And then also, again, the people that are really tasked with building this, how can we now take up space in that area and then influence what it's being used for? Even in the corporate sector, more leadership that again, understands the implications, understands what it means and how it's going to impact our workforce, our humanity. Yeah. They have to be able, if regulation hasn't caught up, then leadership has to have their own internal corporate guidelines. Right. But those are the three avenues I think that we really need to be focused on as a society.
I love the fact that you put it on our political leadership too, because I feel like other countries have political leaders who are like engineers and like they have some context. Yeah. We have Senate hearings where we're asking about Wi-Fi and how Wi-Fi works.
Yep. Our
leaders are asking these questions. And so it's embarrassing.
So far removed.
It's embarrassing. And it is, I think it's on us a bit to start raising the criteria, you know what I mean, across the board for a lot of different reasons, but specifically for the technology side. We need to start requiring or putting it into these debates. How much do you know about this technology? What is your background? And I don't care if you're a car salesman and can get votes. Do you actually have the intelligence to monitor and develop this intelligence?
Yeah, because AI is not just a sector of technology anymore. It impacts, again, like Sinead said, name a job and it's going to influence it. Right. It's going to impact it and it's going to change the trajectory of that. So you really have to remove it from, well, I'm not that technical, or I don't have a technical background. It does not matter about your technical background anymore. You have to be able to understand what the systems can do, how they work, and where their limitations are. Right,
and it's humbling. I think a lot of us have gotten used to this like title society, and you get your degrees. Like I have my master's, and it's like, oh yeah, I got my master's degree. You get a law degree, your doctorates, and then this technology comes and says, I don't care about any of that. And so we have to be on some like, hey, yeah, that's okay. Let me put that learning cap back on, go through that learning curve, and actually get the knowledge to survive in this new society. But I feel like a lot of us have gotten so used to this timeline, and then at this point, okay, I can relax with learning, that we're scared to go back into this space of like learning and being at zero.
Yeah, that's so well said. And I see that a lot right now. I've always been one to believe that learning never stops right after graduation. Right. You have to be a lifelong learner no matter what industry you decided to go into. But in technology, it's always been a little faster paced, I think, than maybe other disciplines. Yeah. And now with AI, it's unlike anything that I've ever seen and so many other my colleagues have ever seen. Yeah. I talk to people that work in this industry, and this is all we do day in and day out is learn, and we get to work. You know, you may take a long weekend off and get to work and feel so far behind because things have changed in just 4 days.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that. So practically, right, how can somebody keep up, or even if they're trying to get that spirit of like, all right, let me actually learn. What are some practical ways for them to start doing that?
Number one is reduce the barrier in your mind that this is too complicated, that you don't have what it takes right now to learn it, or you're not as skilled and so it's going to be harder to learn. Remove that barrier. These things are now using natural language processing. You can just chat to it. Also with chat, 2026 is the year of you shouldn't be typing. Dictate everything. Yeah. Use the dictation, the voice feature. If you're a Windows user, Windows H, just start speaking into everything. But test out the tools. You know, pick a tool, pick a use case, something in your life, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life, that you do consistently, maybe every day, every week, every month, and it's going to bring you some sort of value to outsource this. And just pick a tool and say, hey, this is who I am. Give it the context. Tell it who you are. This is what I need. This is what I would like it to look like. Figure it out for me. What can you do that's going to help me get this done? Yeah. And then, you know, allow it to ask you clarifying questions. Allow it to interview you. Push back on it. So if you're somebody that uses multiple tools, and let's say you use GPT and you use Claude, you can pitch them against each other. Ask them the same exact prompt and say, hey, this is GPT, this is what Claude told me. Claude, this is what GPT told me. Where is your answer superior? Where is it inferior? And combine it to give me the best output for my goal.
Yeah, I love that. So it's funny how quick we went from prompting this thing to having it prompt us, right?
We're definitely going to start getting there into it prompting us more on the proactive prompting side. Right. I think by the end of this year, we'll start to see that where, you know, so far it's always been hey, GPT, do this X, Y, and Z for me,
Right.
create this for me. Now AI is inherently good at pattern recognition. So it knows you. It has context files. If you've created a context file and fed it information about you, it has
Right.
that stored. And it can say, hey, in the last few conversations, I've noticed a trend here. And then it can suggest you something. So I think we're going to start to see proactive areas where it prompts us.
Yeah. And I think the entrepreneur idea that everybody's going to be an entrepreneur, it actually does that. In that practice, you now have to start figuring out your own systems to optimize your time and the potential for income, right? And I feel like I'm seeing that personally too. You're right. The pattern recognition is next level. I'm building my PSA, and the code base or the IDE, integrated developer environment I'm using is Cursor, which is popular. And literally, as now I'm telling it what to do, at the end of every response it gives me, it's like, hey, I saw this over here. We should probably do that next. So it has context around my repository, and it's basically telling me, hey, you should make sure we do this. If you let me know, I'll do it. Now, I could have did it by myself, but I'm going to just let you, I'm actually
I'm
politely.
Make you feel like you have
And that's a crazy reality to live in.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed too is that there's so many people that are spending so much time re-explaining to whatever tool they use the context about themselves.
Right.
So each time you prompt it, you might say, hey, remember, this is my job description, or this is what I like. This is how I like to receive the information. So maybe every time you look for a response, it gives you a novel of a response, and you're somebody that needs that executive summary, like quick bullet.
Right.
And so every time you're having to prompt it. But what I think a lot of people are not doing is tapping into that next level. Just in a random text file, jot down everything about yourself. Jot down who you are, what you like, what you dislike, what your 1 year, 2 year, 5 year plan is for yourself, personally, professionally. And just add all of that context about yourself and save it to, upload it to Claude or GPT or whatever tool you use. So,
No, I think that's helpful. And I think even if you use it enough, you can say, hey, what do you know about me? Because it could probably tell you something you don't know about yourself based on the patterns it catches.
Yeah.
But to the point earlier of like being several steps behind, because even if you haven't gotten to that yet, you don't even know how to use a skill feature, which is recent as well, meaning that you can actually give it the exact way you need to do different things. And that skill, you can call that skill at any point, and it now does whatever you told it to do specifically.
It's like having many agents or many, having a staff of people at your disposal. You create that skill if it's something repetitive that you can do. And, Claude is one of the easiest ways to achieve that. So, you're right. If people are not even doing the base level of prompting in GPT or Claude, you're not going to know how to get to that next level. But my one advice is remove the barrier in your mind that, hey, I'm too far behind or I'm too far removed from it, because you're not.
I love that. And just to shout out the next level, because I do want folks to understand the possibility, excuse me. The first part is giving enough context about yourself to help you. Then it's like, all right, how do we build systems around it, help me the best way possible, skills. I integrated that the other day, and then I think a day later, Claude announced managed agents. So now they have this API where it helps you create the agents even quicker. So I had to ask it, I'm like, so what's the point of skills now? Like, I just learned skills, and now you've evolved to managed agents. They're like, yeah, this is the difference, but like it complements each other, but it's basically the next level now. So it's so many steps you have to get to now where it's becoming, where it's like, all right, now you really need to go to school for this. Before it was like, we can just get into it. If you ride the wave, you'll get used to it, which I think we did. But now if you're coming from scratch, we might have to have a real curriculum that's not overwhelming for the regular person.
That's a good point. I think even going through the exercise of building your individual skill, using Skills Creator to help you build that, now manage agents, it helps you understand the nuance and make better analysis and judgment of when to use which feature too. But if all you know is this one tool or this one feature, and you don't necessarily have the context that led up to that, it can differentiate the way that you make decisions or the way that you use the tools too. So
yeah, it's so much more I want to talk about. We're at time, but I do want to ask this question for those who are actually in similar spaces that you work in every day, right? Where they actually have a C Corp or some kind of organization and they're trying to figure out how to integrate AI. What are some practical steps for them to start integrating it with their team and at scale for their business?
Practical steps, I would say, is number one, have a day with your team or, whomever, and really understand and map out your business. So do thorough process mining, do thorough task mining. Don't just start, with, hey, I need to use AI, so I'm going to arbitrarily pick one process and just do it.
Right.
Understand your processes, understand your business and how that aligns to the direction of your business, and then pick the most high value use case. Pick something that is really going to benefit you or drive you forward in some way, and then take that task, make sure your data is ready, make sure you have the right outputs, you understand what outputs are going to be most beneficial, and then train, pick a tool and use it from there. But I don't know if you saw this study, MIT late last year had 95% of right now AI automations were not profitable. And it's because people just arbitrarily pick something and say, I need to use AI, so I'm going to do it.
Right.
But it could be the most minute task and doesn't really help you, regain much capacity.
Yeah.
So mapping the workflow to business outcome is going to be key.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, there's several studies now kind of showing how people are using AI. And it is interesting because I think folks like us who kind of have this entrepreneurial background, our business mindset, we kind of say, okay, this is how I can actually integrate it into my system. But the everyday person is using it for like basic stuff, and it's kind of like, man, this is such a technology where you can do way more that I won't say you're wasting time, but you're just limiting the potential of self by not really understanding the level you can get to and using it every day. Like every moment now that you have access to technology is a moment that you can do what our ancestors would take a lifetime to do.
Yeah.
And so time, the value of time changes. Like the value of my time now in an hour, I can do something that would take $1 million in the previous period.
Yeah, absolutely. And that it takes not being limited by what we currently do.
Right.
What our two hands are capable of, or our team of 10. It's reimagining everything, because now you have all of this capacity at your disposal.
Right.
Maybe my product and service is not relevant for today's society. That's a hard question.
That's a real question.
A lot of businesses have to start to ask themselves, is my product or service going to be relevant for society in the next 2 years, right? And if it's not, how can I make it that? Now I have this power of AI, I have all of this capacity at my disposal. How can I modify it? How can I open up new streams of revenue? That's
real. Okay, so are you doing anything outside of your 9 to 5 to like that anybody can support or tap in with you if they want to kind of learn more about what you do and how you could potentially help them?
Yeah, absolutely. So people can connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a consulting company and again, really work with companies to figure out what's the most strategic way that they can start to get value from these tools. Yeah.
That's great. All right, cool. So this was great. This was like a lot of information that's practical. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you joining the platform.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. Thank you.